Christian greetings to all of you who are viewing me during this time. We thank God who has brought us this far. This is another Sunday where we are seeing God's goodness in the land of the living. God has been gracious. He has protected us. He has kept us safe. We thank Him for all the gift of life and other gifts He has given us. And we thank Him most of all that we are still saved. I want to convey my message to all of those who have been sending us comments from Twitter, from WhatsApp, from Facebook. Thank you so much for those comments. They have encouraged us, they have strengthened us. Where we have failed, we are going to try to improve. And where we have excelled, we are going to continue to maintain the standard. Thank you for your love, for your care, and for your interest in following up this program. I want also to thank God for those whom God has kept so far, who have been supporting us in prayer. Please continue to support us in prayer. Send your prayers. We need your prayers. And then most of all, I want also to convey my greetings to the church members. Thank you for the encouragement. You've been ringing me. You've been telling me this and this and that. Thank you for your advice. It has been a source of strength to continue until this day. Thank you for praying for my family and my wife and my children. God bless you and reward you accordingly. To those who have lost your dear ones, may God comfort you. Let this be an opportunity for you to discover and find God and His plan towards your life if you are not saved. And to those who are saved, may God continue to strengthen you and also to share the good news to those who don't know about Jesus Christ, because this is an opportune time when every ear and every heart is willing to hear what God is speaking to us. To the sick, I continue to pray for you, and may God quicken your healing, and also may God restore you to full health so that you can start to serve Him again. Last Sunday I've been talking about prayer, and you remember the disciples, how one of them came to Jesus Christ and said, "Lord, teach us how to pray." That was in Luke chapter 11. And then Jesus taught them how to pray. And then I told you that there are different types of prayers. In fact, the Bible enumerates about 7 types of prayers. And of these, we have started to see one by one. Last Sunday, we saw the prayer of agreement. And today, I want to talk about the prayer of intercession. And when we go in the Bible, in the book of Genesis, the first book of the Bible, in chapter 18, we see Abraham as an intercessor. The Bible tells us in Genesis chapter 18, verse 22 to 25, "Then the men turned away from there and went towards Sodom, but Abraham still stood before the Lord. And Abraham came near and said, 'Would you also destroy the righteous with the wicked?'" Suppose there were 50 righteous within the city. Would you also destroy the place and not spare it for the 50 righteous that were in it? Far be it from you to do such a thing as this, to see the righteous with the wicked, so that the righteous should be as the wicked. Far it from you. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right? The Lord said, "If I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sake." We can stop there. You can read the rest. We see Abraham as an intercessor. God was on the move. He had descended and was on the move, and he was going to Sodom and Gomorrah. For a purpose, he had a reason. Because the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah had reached where he was. So much was reported about Sodom and Gomorrah, and he wanted to find out. Every city has its own landmarks that define its culture, its values, its philosophy, its behavior. And Sodom and Gomorrah were not unique. If you read in the book of Ezekiel chapter 16, verse 49 to 50, you will see several vices which were notoriously practiced in Sodom and Gomorrah. Ezekiel said, when God was speaking to him, he said that they were destroyed because they were arrogant. They had a disposition to make exorbitant claims of rank, of reputation, of what they were. You know, there are people like those, they call themselves anything. They call themselves God's generals. They call themselves so and so, you know. And you ask yourself, who gave you that rank? And then they were overfed. They had sinful luxuries. They had no more than enough. They didn't care about the rest. You know, they would take more. When we are still studying, they told us about the Romans, that they came to a stage where the Roman were overfed, and the women had to, they had so much around. And so they would get a feather and rub it after eating, and they feel they are fed, and there's a lot of food to take. You get a feather and rub it inside the throat, and then they vomit. After vomiting, they will come back and eat it, wash the mouth and come back and eat again. They didn't want to leave what was there. You know, they had a lot of luxuries. And in the end, the Roman Empire collapsed. And so even Sodom and Gomorrah was overfed. They had sinful luxuries. Again, they were unconcerned. They were selfishly ambitious. They didn't want to know about others. And here we have a saying, Saudi Yako. That is up to you. And that's how they were. Again, they had another sin. They neglected the poor and needy. God is very interested. He has a heart for the poor and the needy. And he will never forget those who help the poor and needy. You don't need to show off that you are helping the poor. You don't need to go to the television, the radio, and pronounce and blow your trumpet. No. Because God looks at the motive, the heart, why you are doing something. Help the poor where they are. The Bible says, he who is kind to the poor lends to the Lord, and he will reward him for what he has done. That is Proverbs 19, verse 17. But Sodom and Gomorrah, they neglect the poor and needy. Again, they were haughty. They had superiority, whereby they were showing arrogant superiority. They were contemptuously proud. They took themselves to be high above. And lastly, they did detestable things. The Lord just describes them as detestable. Things which are unimaginable that they can be done by human beings. They practice gang rape. They practice homosexuality. They were morally depraved. And as a result, there was a consequence. And so when we are reading, Jesus Christ has descended to make a forensic audit of the number of righteous people still living in the twin cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. And as he told Abraham, he told him that, Abraham, I have heard the cry against Sodom and Gomorrah, and it is so great, and their sins so grievous, that I will go down and see if what they have done is as bad as the outcry that has reached me. If not, I will know. God was going to Sodom and Gomorrah for a purpose, to find out the behaviors of Sodom and Gomorrah. But before he goes, he shares his secret with Abraham. Do you know, Abraham, I'm going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. And when Abraham learns about it, he realizes that he has to stand between Sodom and Gomorrah. The word intercession comes from the word intercessor. And the word intercessor comes from two Latin words. One is inter, the other is sidere. The word inter means between, and sidere means to go. And so Abraham is now going to stand and go before the Lord on behalf of Sodom and Gomorrah. It doesn't matter how bad they were. It doesn't matter what they had done. I know it mattered before God. But to Abraham, his business was one, to go between and plead their case. God to give them another chance. And when we read those paragraphs which follow down and the verses, we learn about some skills that we need to learn from Abraham as an intercessor. And as I was reading through, there are some points I noted. The first one, you need to develop a deeper relationship with God to be your friend. If you are an intercessor, develop a deeper relationship with God to be your friend. Because if God is your friend, he will share his mind, his will and intentions with you. The Bible tells us in verse 17, then the Lord said, shall I hide from Abraham what I'm about to do? He said, I can't. Even Amos 37 confirms that sure the sovereign Lord does nothing without revealing his plans to his servants, the prophets. God will always share his mind, will, and purpose to all those that have a closer walk with him. Intercessors, let us develop a closer walk with God. Let us develop a deeper relationship so that God is our friend, so that he can share his will and mind of what he intends to do. We see he shares his mind. And Abraham doesn't rejoice and said, yes, they are worth to die. He knew the sins of Sodom and Gomorrah because his cousin was living there a lot. But we need to understand that God had called Abraham for a purpose. He was to be the light to the world, was to be a watchman, was to be God's representative. He had a heart like that one of God. He was God's friend. And so the Bible tells us he stands before God. When the two other men went to Sodom and Gomorrah to check, those were the angels, Abraham stood before the Lord. That's what the Bible says. Every intercessor, this is what I learned, must learn to stand before the Lord. The Bible says the men turned away and went towards Sodom. But Abraham remained standing before the Lord. He remained standing there. Every successful intercessor has learned that the secret to receive audience before the King of Kings lies in standing on a holy ground. Learn to stand on a holy ground. The Lord told the children of Israel that be ye holy, because I'm a holy God. That is Leviticus 11:44. God calls intercessors. He calls all those who desire to have an audience with him, that they should learn to stand on a holy ground. Abraham had all the reasons, had all the strength, had all the right to stand before the Lord. But some of us, we go before the Lord in prayer. And then he asks you, where do you get the authority to stand before me? God will never answer the prayers of the wicked. Do you know that one? But when we are standing on a holy ground, we are able to have audience with the Lord. And then you will be able to walk with the Lord. Amos 3:3 says, if you are going to walk and work together with the Lord, you have to be in agreement. He says, can two walk together unless they agree? That is Amos 3:3. There has to be agreement. We see Abraham as an intercessor here. He stands before the Lord. He is standing on the holy ground. The Bible goes on to tell us about Abraham. He doesn't stop there. He approaches God. This is the third point I learned about intercession. This is the skill I want every intercessor to pick up. You approach God according to his what? To his revealed character and nature. In verse 23 to 25, it says, Abraham approached him and said, "Will you sweep away the righteous and the wicked?" And then verse 25, he says, "Yet he does not let the guilty go unpunished." That is the nature of God, the judge of the world. Would not the judge of all the earth do right? So Abraham understood the character of God. And he understood that he had to approach God according to his revealed character or nature. We build our prayer on the character of God. I want to conclude with these words in Ezekiel chapter 22, verse 30 to 31. God said, "I looked for a man among them who would build up the wall and stand before me in the gap on behalf of the land, so I would not have to destroy it. But I found none. So I would pour out my wrath on them and consume them with my own fiery anger, bringing down on their own heads all they have done, declares the sovereign Lord." The Lord is looking for a man or woman that can stand between him and the gap on behalf of the land. You and me, we are the people God is looking for. Let us stand in the gap during this coronavirus. Stand in the gap and intercede for the world. And again, don't forget this. Intercede for those who are lost, who are not saved, who don't know Jesus Christ. Think about the thousands who have died who didn't know about Jesus Christ. Where are they now? And if you are hearing me, this is the opportunity to open up your heart, to accept Jesus Christ to be your personal Savior. He will come into your life, change your life, transform your life. The only person who can transform your life is Jesus Christ. God bless you as you make the wisest and best decision in your life to get saved and accept Jesus Christ as your personal Savior. God bless you in Jesus' name.